everyone, Rach here, and today we are going to be doing a little bit of a different video. So today I want to discuss with you guys some more like IRL sort of stuff that's been going on in my life while you watch me build something that is very strongly related to the topic of today's conversation. So first things first, let me discuss what you're actually seeing me build. So I titled this lot simply The Apartments because I am recreating an IRL apartment / duplex system that I am actually thinking about, drumroll please, moving into. So this requires a bit of context to the situation, which I'm about to provide, but first I just want to say that this isn't completely accurate, because if it was, there would be another one of these identical to what I'm building, exactly to the left of it, and the wall that in the future has the like living room and kitchen on it is actually directly against and shared with the apartment / duplex that's on the other side. And then there's also some duplexes a little while in the back. There's a backyard-ish area that goes along with each apartment and duplex that was built. And so there's a little space between the duplex that I'm thinking of moving into and then the one behind it. But there's also like a little tiny front yard and then like the driveway and then the duplex in front of it. So it's like a big system of duplexes. I think there's something like 32 in the set. And the one that I'm thinking about moving into is kind of on the edge of all of them, so it only shares a wall with the one duplex, and that is on the left side of it if you're looking at it from the front. Another thing about the realism of this duplex is slightly off with the recreation is, of course, the sizing in The Sims. So for some reason in The Sims 4, we obviously have the problem of having no half tiles, which is a little bit difficult because in like real life there's a little bit more space in like the hallway, and like there's a little bit of like spacing in the closet that I couldn't quite get right, because obviously in The Sims 4 they want you to do everything on like full tiles, and in reality, the closets are actually, I think, the same size, and the wall in between them is like on a half tile. So they're actually the same size because the wall's like in between perfectly where it's cut in half. But in The Sims, I don't have access to half tiles, so I couldn't really recreate that. And then again, the hallway is also kind of weird because I really needed half tiles. But then there's also the added problem of dining space. So for some reason in The Sims 4, when you place down a table and chairs, it looks absolutely massive in the space, and I don't really know why. If you're basing it off of something in real life and the room is kind of small, so you're trying to recreate that in The Sims, for some reason the dining furniture just looks like comically large, and I'm not really sure why, but that is a problem that I had in this build. I think I do end up placing down some furniture in this speed build. I was figuring that I would do a future episode if I do decide to move out into this apartment, where I show you guys the decorations and sort of like what I'm thinking and like walk you through all of that as well. Now you might be wondering, how do you know so much about the dimensions of this apartment / what's inside of it? So this is where the context really comes in handy. So you guys probably don't know this because I don't think I've really mentioned it here before on the channel, because on the channel I haven't been super talkative about my real life. I think I've mentioned a few things here and there, but I don't think I've really had a good sit down and like chat with you session, which I probably do need to record like a Q&A soon if I'm being honest, because I've never really done that, and I feel like there are a lot of things I just haven't told you guys or haven't elaborated fully on, so I probably need to do another separate video at some point with all of those details. But for now, I'm going to try to give you guys a basic rundown so you understand what I've been thinking and what I've been kind of dealing with. Also, I forgot to mention about the sizing when I was talking about the realism, that the bedrooms are also a little bit off. So the one on the left is actually, I think, pretty on par for the size of that bedroom, but the bedroom on the right, the one that's kind of more to the front of the build, it's not actually that long. I don't know how to explain it because, again, The Sims just really is not doing it justice. But the entire building is kind of like a rectangle, and in real life it's pretty obvious how things work and flow. But for some reason, when you try to recreate the sizing in The Sims, either the hallway is off, or the closets are off, or one of the bedrooms is comically bigger, or the kitchen and dining space is a little too large, which honestly I probably could have gone a little larger on the kitchen and dining space, especially since the sizing with the dining table was so off kilter. But I was honestly trying to keep it to as close to the actual dimensions as possible. And I felt like making it a little larger, just, I don't know, it seemed a little bit off to me, especially when I started placing like the furniture. But again, everything in The Sims is just a little bit off. I would have to film an empty apartment tour for you guys to get the full experience of what it actually does look like, which I'm not actually sure if I want to do on this channel or not. This is kind of a topic for a separate day because I'm already going to be discussing so much in this video. But I do want to briefly mention that I'm not sure if I want to keep this channel like all gaming and like separate hobbies and stuff like that, or if I want to kind of make it more of like a just general lifestyle sort of thing. I'm honestly not sure if the algorithm would react poorly to me switching it to a lifestyle channel, and I don't want to like start filming like empty apartment tour and stuff like that and editing it and putting it up on this channel and then decide like halfway through the moving out process that I'm like, no, I actually want to make a new channel that's all lifestyle and just keep this one for like hobbies. So I don't actually know what to think on that. If you guys have any opinions, leave them down below. And I do mean any opinions, like literally on this entire video. If you guys have any thoughts or ideas, please do share them with the class, so to speak. Because I'm like a very indecisive person when it comes to major change. Probably because I don't really like change, if I'm being honest. I really hate change. And it makes me really indecisive. So I'm really on the fence about this. And there's so many like big factors going into it. And I'm just kind of like overwhelmed and I don't know what to do. So I'm just going to try to talk through a lot of it here with you guys today, and hopefully it will help me to make a decision on what I'm doing, because as you can probably tell from the way that I'm talking, I'm using a lot of words like if and should I decide and things like that. But yeah, back to the earlier question that I brought up about how I know so much about the interior workings of this particular duplex/apartment. It's actually a really simple answer. So for one, I'm a simmer, and so when I'm inside of a space, I automatically start imagining it in The Sims, and I'm like spacing everything out in my head in The Sims, and like, how would this work in The Sims? How many pieces of cabinet would you need in the kitchen to make it look like it does in real life in The Sims? How many tiles would this bathroom be? Like, sometimes when I'm in a space, I'm like, you know, this bathroom is like a 3x6 in The Sims. Like, sometimes that thought occurs to me. So if I'm in a space, I'm automatically in my head thinking like, this is kind of like a 6x4 waiting room or a 2x4 bathroom. Like, it's just something that kind of happens like in my subconscious. I call it simmer brain. I don't know if anyone else has this happen to them, but it happens to me in literally every room that I'm in the back of my head. So naturally, as you might imagine, in spaces where I spend a lot of time, so as you might imagine, if that thought pops into my head while I'm waiting in, let's say, a doctor's office, then I definitely have that thought occur to me when I'm in a place for a far longer period, such as visiting a family member, which brings me to the reasoning of why I know so much about the inside of this apartment, which is that it was actually my grandparents' apartment. They actually lived in this, I think, from the time I was like 4. I think I was like 4 when they moved into this particular duplex system, to currently. And my grandmother has moved in with my uncle, which has freed up said apartment. And while I've been helping my mom clean it out and kind of get it ready to relinquish back to the landlord so that he can start renting it out to other people, I've kind of been thinking to myself, like, wouldn't it be nice if I just moved in here and we kind of kept the apartment like in the family, because obviously this is the only place that I remember my grandparents living. And so this is like almost like a second home to me already. Like, aside from my actual home that I'm currently living in, this is the only other place that like in my head is like a secondary home. So it's already like a very comfortable space for me. And I was just kind of thinking like, I could use the extra space of like moving out and having like an office and then like a bedroom and like just being able to kind of expand all my like at home work ideas and just also have more like space to decorate and do all of those things. And I was kind of like, this would be the perfect place. And this thought has occurred to me before now. The thought first occurred to me like last summer, I would say probably in like June. I was like, eventually I might like to like live in that apartment. And it is just such a nice like homey space for me because my grandparents obviously live there and I do see it as a second home. And it's just so nice and like homey. And I was just kind of thinking to myself, like, idly, like, it might actually be kind of nice to, like, maybe live there at some point. But it wasn't really, like, a fully formed thought until, like, last month when all of this stuff started happening with my grandmother and she moved in with my uncle. Then it kind of was like, oh, okay, so this is actually, like, a thing now. And I've been thinking about it for, like, a month now, and, it's been a lot of back and forth. It's been a lot of back and forth, a lot of indecision, a lot of should I do it, should I not? I think I've pretty much drained everyone around me because I won't stop talking about it. Like, I keep asking literally everyone I know, like, should I do it? Do you think it's a good idea? Is this a bad idea? Like, is this actually the dumbest thing I've ever come up with before? I'm very split on this decision, as you can probably tell, because there's like 50% of me that's like, no, I should not do this. I should just help my mom clean it out and we should just relinquish it back to the landlord and just forget about it. But then there's the other 50% of me that is like, it would be nice to have more space. I could have a lot more opportunities. This particular duplex happens to be literally 5 feet away from my sister's duplex because she lives beside where my grandma lives. Like, she's in one of the 32 duplexes that I mentioned, and so we would literally be like practically next door neighbors. So it would be really nice because I haven't actually lived near my sister in a while, and growing up, like, me and her were like very, very close. Like, we were besties, like we were each other's ride or die growing up. It was very weird when she moved out to not be able to like walk into her room and just be like, hi, what's up? You won't believe this thing that I heard. It was just a very weird experience that I did not really like settling into. And I'm sure all of the younger siblings out there can relate. Like, it was just kind of like, what is this situation? How did I get here? And how can I make it go back? So the idea of living next to her is definitely a perk of moving there. Another thing is I live in a very small town, or more accurately, I live currently outside of a very small town. And the truth is I could really use to be actually in said small town because, as I mentioned before here on the channel, but I haven't really elaborated fully on, I have seizures, and although they aren't like the biggest type of seizures that you can imagine, they're actually fairly small and much easier to manage than like the ones that you probably are imagining when you hear the word epilepsy. They are still quite annoying because my state has a law where you can't have a driver's license unless you have been seizure free for a year, which honestly, it's understandable. I wouldn't really want a person with epilepsy just driving around after like 2 months of being seizure free, so I can understand the law. But it is very annoying because obviously I can't drive myself anywhere and I have to rely on like my family or friends to like drive me places. And currently I am relying fully on my mother to drive me places should I want to go somewhere. And so it's just a little bit annoying in terms of the epilepsy. Like, that's probably I would say that's the worst part of the seizures, is just how codependent they make you. You really are kind of like a bird in a cage. Like, unless that door gets open for you, you are not going to be flying anywhere. And I mean, it's not normally that big of a problem, but as you might imagine, it is a big problem if you want to have like a job. Because obviously telling another person like you have to rearrange your entire life so that I can go get a job and drive here at these certain times and do all these things that I want to do, and you have to basically just be my personal chauffeur, is like not what you want to do. Especially when said person is your mother and you love her very much. You're not really interested in telling her like your full-time job now is being my personal chauffeur. So living next to my sister would be nice because at least then I would have like her as an option to drive me places. Whereas like right now, I wouldn't really want to ask her to drive me too many places. Like sure, if we were going somewhere like kind of fun together, it would be fine. But like asking her to drive me to like a doctor's appointment because I have one and like for whatever reason my mom can't drive me, it would be a little weird to like ask her like, "Hey, could you take off work today so you can drive me somewhere?" It's just kind of weird. Which again, just like epilepsy is such a huge nerve in that department. So that's another pro of living in that apartment in town because I would have my sister right there. But at the same time, I'm looking at that and I'm like, sure, that's a pro, but like maybe there's some other hidden third option that I haven't found that would allow me to stay at home, grow my at home money making opportunities as well, and somehow fix the driving issue. But honestly, I have been racking my brain for a month solid now, and I have not come up with anything because I do live a little bit outside of said very small town. There's just not a lot of like options for hiring people to drive you, like taxi services, Uber services. They're just not around. I'm gonna be completely honest. It's a very like rural area, and they're not here. They're just not here, bestie. Maybe if I lived in one of the bigger cities in my state, I would have more like driving opportunities. But obviously, I don't really want to go from where I'm comfortable all the way out into a bigger city all by myself with absolutely no family around just so I can have an easier method of transportation. Like, that's not really what I'm after. I'm after a comfortable transition into more freedom and less codependency. That is just not what I'm gonna get by moving potentially an hour and a half away from everyone that I know and love. As you can imagine, that leaves me in a very sticky position because I'm looking at this apartment and I'm thinking it would be perfect because I know it's comfortable. I would live near my sister and still fairly close to my mother. It would be like the perfect situation, right? Like on paper. But then the natural thoughts of like, can I do this? Should I do this? Am I romanticizing it in my head and making it sound a lot easier than it actually will be? Kind of start creeping in, and then I start getting really doubtful and like, this is not like a very good decision. And yeah, I'm just very stressed about the situation, and there's a lot of thoughts running through my head that I haven't even covered in this video. So if you guys can like give me any input, like maybe give me some suggestions, I don't know. Just comment below maybe what your first moving out experience was like, and maybe some tips and tricks for things that you did to kind of make the transition easier. Because like that's another thing is I don't really have like a way to make the transition from obviously living with / around people to living alone any better. Like, I've never lived in a house where it is silent. Like, I talk to myself sometimes, obviously, like right now when I'm recording, I am talking to myself technically. And I talk to my pets that are around as well. But I wouldn't have like an actual person in the house to talk to. And I feel like the silence is going to like really like eat at me. Because I've literally never lived in a place where it's been silent like all the time. And I'm not like a people person, like I'm pretty introverted and shy and like normally pretty reserved. But if I have people around me that I know and I love and I'm comfortable with, then I'm pretty chatty. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, your girl's a chatterbox. You know, you might have guessed it from some of the videos here on this channel. I'm a talker. I'm very talkative. And the idea of living in complete silence actually sounds like I would go stir crazy. So I'm just wondering, like, if you live on your own, how do you combat the silence? Because that's one of the many big issues about me moving out is just like, what would I do with all that silence? And like, I know most people wouldn't be bothered by the silence, like my mom, for instance. She is the type of person that if she is in a room and it is silent, she's like, that's fine, it gives me more time to think. But I am not like that. If I have too much time to myself to think, my mind will go down some very scary rabbit holes very quickly. And a lot of the rabbit holes that my mind likes to go down on little trips when I'm alone and it's quiet are either stressful, or it ends up distracting me from doing something important that I actually need to do. Like if I have a video that I need to edit and my brain goes down one of these rabbit holes of like something that I read online and I'm like, oh my gosh, suddenly I just have to research this topic and like make it my obsession. I end up doing that instead of editing the video that I'm supposed to put out. So I don't know what to do with all that silence. The idea of it being silent, very scary, not pleasant at all, is genuinely just a terrifying prospect. It's one of the bigger problems of moving out. I just feel like I'd get really lonely, which is probably a weird sentence for an introvert to say, but I feel like no one talks about the fact that when you're introverted, you don't like meeting new people and your social battery can get worn out. But if it's someone you're comfortable with and that you love and you're close with, you don't actually have that happen. Like, you're not just like living with someone and then all of a sudden one day you wake up and you're like, you know what, my social battery's spent, do not talk to me today. Like, don't, like, at least that doesn't really happen to me. And I feel like everyone just kind of assumes, like, oh, if you're an introvert, you probably want to be alone, like, all the time. And you don't want anyone talking to you, like, pretty much ever. And, like, that's not true. Like, silence can scare us. Introverts are not immune to being afraid of the quiet. So if you guys are introverts and you moved out and you guys have any advice about anything that I talked about in this video, please do leave it in the comments down below. If you enjoy me just kind of yapping and talking about like real life stuff with you guys, do let me know as well, and I will consider releasing a few more videos because I do have a lot of topics of things that I could discuss with you guys and just chat about in general. So let me know in the comments down below. I'm really relying heavily on you guys here to let me know what you guys are thinking because my thoughts are all over the place. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!